So much has changed in the last year and a half. I became a wife, I became a mother, and I became a version of myself that I never imagined, but I'm extremely proud of. I've spent a lot of time trying to shrink, trying to fit into spaces that felt too small for me, worried about who I might offend or like how I might be perceived. But somewhere along the way, I stopped caring what people think, and I started caring more about what feels true. This version of the Mourning Dove podcast isn't filtered through performance or approval. It's real, it's honest, it's layered, and it's me. I'm not here to be palatable. I'm here to be present and to hold space for all parts of culture, spirituality, healing, and being that we're not always allowed to talk about out loud. So welcome back or welcome in. If you've been here before, I'm so grateful that you stayed. And if you're just arriving, I hope you find something honest here. Whether you've been here before or just found this space, I hope it meets you in the middle with truth, love, and nuance. Each episode may explore sensitive or controversial topics, from love and loss to conspiracies, cultural critique, and unpopular truths. A space built for those who think deeper, question harder, and aren't afraid to sit in the tensions between extremes. Take care of your mind and spirit while listening. Hi guys! Welcome back to the Mourning Dove Podcast. This is so exciting. I know it's been a very long time, but I'm back as I promised. As you guys remember, I previously used to do this show with my husband. Let me stop you right there. So before, me and Ricardo were actually just engaged, but now, yes, your girl is a wife, okay? So welcome back, and if you're a new listener, I'm so excited that you're here. We have a lot to talk about, but at the same time, just kind of slowly get back to used to being like on the mic and whatnot. So not to say I'm changing the podcast, but it definitely is going to have a completely different vibe to it. Before, I categorized this podcast as I guess you could say a faith and conspiracy based podcast, but it's time for a rebrand only because I realized that in this generation, nuance is so important, and I'm going to be talking about different nuance takes a lot because the way it is, not everything is black or white. And when I dabbled recently in TikTok, I've been talking about my takes on different opinions. I realized that when you put yourself in a box, for example, calling myself a Christian, although I am, unfortunately, it makes a lot of people not want to hear what you have to say. And so I'm no longer branding this podcast necessarily as like, let's say, a Christian podcast. It's more so going to be just me with Jesus in the center, having a relationship with him. I'm not going to brand it as a Christian podcast anymore, although I definitely will still be talking about my Lord and Savior. But before we get more into like the rebrand of the podcast, I would like to share a little bit of what I've been going through the last year and a half, guys. So let me take a step back. Basically, yes, me and Ricardo got married, and I'm a little nervous that with the rebrand and without him doing the podcast with me this time around, that I might lose some of my male viewers. I hope not. I hope you guys stay tuned because it's going to be basically talking about the same things, conspiracy and whatnot. However, without my dear Ricardo, he will be missed. But yeah, I became a mother, yes, all in a year and a half. I became a mother and a wife, and huge identity shift. Like, that is a lot in a year and a half. And right before we did our last episode, I think it was like maybe a couple weeks after, Ricardo decided to join the military, guys. And so that is what we did. We've done a lot of traveling. It's been super crazy the last year and a half. When I tell you, like, my life has changed so drastically from the last time you guys have seen me. And I'm actually really excited because I feel like I'm more ready to be like more transparent, more real. Because like when we did the podcast before, for example, I had someone tell me like, don't mention that you guys live together because you're just engaged, you're not married, it looks bad. yeah, this is all part of the rebrand. I no longer care how things are perceived or how they look. It's just going to be me. It's going to be transparent. We're going to go through this journey together because I feel like it's better and just like you're more easy to listen to people who are transparent about their lives. And I feel like when people try to hide who they are or hide what's going on, why would you want to take what they say? You know, like, I just feel like it's better to be transparent about who you are, your journey. And I feel like that's more so of what God would want me to do in the first place. Hiding is not for me. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've never been one to really like want to hide. I've always wanted to be transparent about who I am because it's just not me, honestly. But yeah, we got married okay, let me tell you the story now, right? That's the whole point. So this is the story. We were living together for a few months, and honestly, we were like, we don't want to just be continuing to live together without being married, obviously, because, you know, the way that we grew up and just the way that God would have preferred is obviously before you move in, before you become intimate with someone, you know, you should be married. And I stand very firm on that to this day. If you asked me, like, you know, my views, that's what I would say. I think marriage before sex and marriage before all those things and whatnot. But yes, we were living together before that, and it just didn't sit right with us anymore. So we decided to get married. Yes, we got married in December of 17th of 2023. However, again, because perceptions and whatnot, and because we did want to have a more formal wedding, we decided to do another wedding basically in May of 2024. Was it 2024? Am I saying this wrong? No, I'm sorry, Ricardo. We got married in 2022. Did we? Oh crap, he's gonna watch this. Wait, I'm having a brain fog. It's mom brain, guys. Long story short, yes, we got married in 2023. We did the wedding in 2024. That was the one public. We did a public wedding in 2024. At the time, I was pregnant with my daughter. The public wedding, although we were already married, I was pregnant with my daughter. I was about like 10 weeks or so, you know, because I also had some people like talking like, oh, they probably got married because she was pregnant. Yeah, sorry to burst your bubble, guys. First I was a wife and then I was a mother. So yeah, that's the truth. That's what happened. But of course, it probably looked some type of way to the public, and you know, people love to talk about what they don't know. But yes, that is the story. We've been very happily married, and then a little bit after, Ricardo decided to join the Air Force, which has honestly been such a great it's been a great experience so far, and he really likes it. We always try to like end up recruiting people, be like, you guys should join the military, it's great, you know, they do this, they do that, all the benefits and whatnot. So yeah, we definitely have been enjoying it. It's allowed us to travel. So on top of that, Ricardo, this is the part of the story that got real crazy for me, right? And definitely contributed to my identity shift, I guess, and just like becoming who I am now. So Ricardo was in basic training the last few months that I was pregnant with my daughter. And of course, we were hoping and praying that he would be able to be there for the birth. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it. And so, yes, your girl did end up going into labor without her mans. And it was actually very hard for us, honestly. That was one of the hardest things that we've ever done as a couple. And like, the thing is, we've done long distance before. Like, we literally are the ideal long distance couple. Like, we've done long distance. We were friends for years, talked on the phone. When we were boyfriend and girlfriend, we would travel to each other like an hour and 45 minutes. But this definitely tested our relationship. We weren't able to speak, like text or call, for 2 months. We had like occasional phone calls while he was in basic training and whatnot. But it was really hard for me being pregnant and not being able to talk to him. And then Monica, that's my daughter, she wanted to make an early entrance into the world, and she ended up being born a month early, which was also really scary for me. I had a scare. The doctors were telling me, like, you know, they were concerned about something, and then it ended up being nothing, but that was really scary. dealing with like on my own. Gonna get really personal on this podcast, guys, but at the time I no longer had a relationship with my mother either. Currently, I still don't really have a relationship with my mom. I might talk more about that in later episodes and like go more into detail about that whole thing. But yeah, I'm currently no contact with my mom. So that was really hard as well. So basically, the only person that was at my labor and delivery was my nana, my grandma. If you don't know what a nana is, that is what a nana is. A lot of mother wounds and trauma in my family. Definitely, like, one of my biggest things with having a daughter is breaking the generational curses of the mother-daughter wound. So yeah, back to the story. Basically, went into labor without Ricardo, without my mom, and that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's definitely not how I imagined it. Like, when I imagined, like, I feel like, I don't know if all girls do this, but like, you think about like your wedding, you think about when you have a baby, you kind of like imagine how it's gonna be. And let me tell you, I did not see that coming. But yeah, then later on, he graduated. We were able to travel to Texas to see him graduate, which was amazing. He got to meet his daughter. It was beautiful, very emotional. Me, I was very much postpartum, and I feel like I tell him all the time, like, I was not there. I don't know how I did it. I traveled with her when I was like 3 weeks postpartum. So it was a hard trip on both me and my daughter. But again, we did it, and we spent Thanksgiving together as a family. It was great. Of course, then, with military, it's specifically with the job he had, it was a lot more long distance after that. No, we weren't reunited yet, guys. Just follow along with the story. After that, we didn't see him again until Christmas. He was able to spend with us, but we were still long distance for a couple months. And then, thank God, we were able to go stay with him. We lived in Mississippi. That's where his technical training school was at. So we were in Mississippi up until literally the beginning of this month. And that is why I'm so excited, because I'm able to basically get back to the mic, start my podcast back up. This is definitely like, this is my thing. I love doing this. I'm excited for the conversations we're going to have, as difficult as they may be, or as controversial, unpopular, whatever. It's whatever. I'm trying to be like, not the next Candace Owens necessarily, but like kind of a mix of her and like that other YouTuber. Just a girl. So I know the girlies, they're not gonna like me, but that's okay. Eventually maybe they'll love me when they listen to what I have to say. Who knows? Anyways, so yeah, we lived in Mississippi for about like maybe March, April, May, June, 4 months. I want to say 4 to 5 months. It was really cool. The people down south are like super friendly. They talk a lot, I'll be honest. Not used to all that talking when you live down in like Pennsylvania area. Yeah, every Uber we got into, they were trying to have like a conversation with us, which was like, it was different. I didn't hate it, but sometimes you're just like, bro, like, I don't want to talk. So yeah, that was really cool. We were able to do a couple stuff down there. And then, yeah, like I said, we finally moved back. We're at our permanent base station now. And it's been great, guys. It's been, it's been honestly a blessing. Like, I imagined myself here. Literally, like, this has been going on, as you guys hear, like a year and a half. This journey has been going on. So it's so amazing. It was really worth it. The house that they gave us is beautiful. And overall, I'm just like really blessed to be here. So, I'm not performing anymore. This space is for Truth, Love, and Nuance. That's another thing. Like, I'm super excited with the rebrand that I have going on. I will say it's crazy because this week, I feel like Satan was really trying me, because I had this day marked down to start back the podcast, and it's like I went through a lot of emotional trauma this week, and like a lot of old wounds reopened. And sometimes when that happens, I like question if I'm ready to start back or ready to put myself out there again. But really, I'm telling you, it's just spiritual warfare. And the way that I am, sometimes I let my emotions and my feelings dictate what I do. And that's literally like the opposite of, what do you call it? Not consistency. I think it starts with a D. What's the word? discipline. I don't know why I forgot that word. Literally like the opposite of discipline. And I'm working on my discipline. I'm trying to be consistent. Overall, all those things that were happening, it's not that I didn't want to podcast or do what I had to do. Literally, guys, I'm a whole mother. Like, and I learned so much in motherhood. Like, I guess I talked about travel, the military, marriage, but motherhood is a whole different ball game. And I never, honestly, I was the person, like my one friend makes fun of me all the time. She's like, before you had kids, you were that friend who knew nothing about kids and was just like, huh? What? Like, what do they do? What does your kid need? And that's so true, because like I never paid attention to mothers in public or like in general, guys, honestly, until I became one. Like, I never watched any content that had to do with babies, motherhood. Like, it just wasn't on my mind because it just was so far from what I expected. Like, not expected, but like it just wasn't on my mind, because obviously I wasn't a mom. And like becoming one, it's been so crazy, because like now I like sorry, I'm saying like a lot, it's the first episode, bear with me. I watch like the moms who come into the restaurants, and I'm like watching how many kids they have. I'm like, how do they do it? I'm like watching them. Oh my goodness, like she's so cool. And now I pay so much attention to mothers. It's crazy. I'm a lot more grateful for the mothers in the world in general. Although I am no contact with my own mom, which has been very, very difficult. Going into motherhood without having your own mom, definitely one of the hardest things that I've had to do. We'll talk about that more later time. But yeah, and I love my daughter so much, but it is very like, it's just one of the hardest things ever. Like being a mom, it's very rewarding. I am a stay-at-home mom, so that is another blessing, that like I don't have to put my daughter in daycare or anything like that. And like, this is no, jab at women who do put their kids in daycare, but I feel like blessed every day that I'm able to be the one to change her diapers, be the one to feed her, be the one to like, put her down for her naps and whatnot. So that's been great. It is hard though. People think like when you're a stay-at-home mom, like, all you do is just, you stay at home. Like, what do you do? Honey, I'm the cook, I'm the cleaner, I'm the babysitter. And some days all I can really even be is like a mom. All I can do some days is literally just survive, take care of my daughter. I do nurse her, which is exhausting. It is, honestly, when I started my breastfeeding journey, I hope the guys are still here. I'm sorry. Not sorry because it's natural, but I know this is not like, it's just a little intro. Just stay with me. But when I first started my breastfeeding journey, I was like, I'm only going to do it for like maybe 6 months. I have a bunch stored breast milk. So yeah, my daughter, guys, refuses a bottle. So basically, I'm going to be nursing her exclusively for the next 4 months, because she's like 8 months old now. So I got to wait a year. It's been draining, to say the least, but I'm doing it. I'm doing that thing. So what's changed in my voice, I would say, like with this whole podcast, I used to hold back a lot. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I used to hold back a lot. I not that I wasn't being real, but a lot of the topics, I don't know. I feel like it was a show. Like, I always worry about perception. And that's something that I'm working on. I'm definitely on my healing journey. And you guys, I hope you come along with me on that journey of, no longer people pleasing, worrying about what people think of me. Because like at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And I'm learning that, because people are going to talk regardless. Obviously, they may not say it to my face, but me and Ricardo get a lot of judgment for our lifestyle. We're early 20s. I'm 23 turning 24, and he's 20. Well, he's always a year younger. So if I'm 23, he's 22 turning 23. Don't call me a cougar, but yeah, I'm a year older than him. But yeah, we're early 20s, and we have a kid. We have a little baby. We love her. We got married. So definitely not what people would consider like the average young 20-year-old to be doing. So there is a lot of like judgment sometimes. I do worry about that, but I don't really care anymore. Like, no more. Like, I think it's like this fear of rejection or being misunderstood. I feel a lot more confident to speak openly without shrinking myself, without worrying about what this person thinks or what that person thinks. Like, I'm just gonna speak my truth. And honestly, not to be cocky, but I be knowing my stuff. Like, I know what I'm talking about a lot of the times. I've done a lot of research, a lot of psychology research all throughout my life, just because, growing up, I grew up dealing with narcissistic abuse. I'm gonna be real with you guys. And so I used to do a lot of research on like psychology and things like that. Stuff like that. Let's see, what else? Basically, I just be knowing things. Like, I don't know how else to explain it to you. You just gotta trust me. It's experience. It's just knowledge. Yeah. And I think also becoming a mom made me care less about opinions. I'm still working on it, of course. Currently, big news. I am starting therapy, which I think everyone should do therapy, because it's always good to have like coping skills, and we all have our struggles. We have things that we need to learn to deal with depending on like, your attachment styles, how you grew up and whatnot. But yeah, I have been struggling a lot with, not necessarily like I'm in a great place. Like I said, I've been even better since being married, since being with Ricardo. Honestly, like, I've been in a great place, getting out of certain toxic environments, getting closer with God. I've been in a better place than I was before. However, I still do need to work on basically coping skills, patterns, because like I said, I want to be better for my daughter, and I have to break generational curses. And the only way you can do that is by growing yourself. A lot of the times the older generation, not that they didn't want to, but they didn't have the tools to do better. And so it's my job, it's your job, our job to do better for the next generation after. Basically, to add to that, I'm not chasing approval anymore, chasing alignment. So I just want to do what I feel is best and what I feel God would say is best. Because a lot of the times, for example, me being married, me having a kid at this age, the world says that's weird, that's different, live it up, you're in your 20s, why do you want kids, the world's ending, all these different things that I hear, and we're going to talk more about that. But what does God say? God, I'm pretty sure, is very happy with me. I'm not sleeping around. I am a married young person. Be fruitful and multiply. I sure did, because your girl's trying to live it up in her 40s. The life that I live, I'm proud of, because I know God is proud of it, and I don't feel ashamed of what I'm doing. So yeah, before, I feel like I wouldn't have talked about a lot of this stuff in the old podcast, but the rebrand, we're still, same soul, but just different message, I'm no longer trying to fit in the Christian influencer box, because the Christian community has a lot of work to do, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is very, and I hate to say it, and I hate to be this person, but it is judgmental. You have to be a certain type of way, talk a certain type of way. That's why I no longer wanted to brand it as a Christian podcast necessarily, because it is very difficult. I just don't want that anymore. I just want to be me. I just want to be a follower of Christ, but I don't want to be branded as, necessarily a Christian influencer. Oftentimes people I've talked to, they're like, oh, Christians are so bad and Christians are this and that. And I'm just like, you judge people by their fruit. And if this person is doing this, they have no right to really call themselves a Christian. We actually talked about that. We've talked about that in one of our episodes. I think like the first episode, we talked about like, just because you call yourself a Christian doesn't make you that. And so because of that horrible, basically agenda that I'm pretty sure satanic agenda, and because unfortunately just how culture sees Christians, I no longer want to label myself that anymore. I want to label myself as having a relationship with Jesus Christ. And if you don't like that, boo-hoo. Oh guys, look what I can do now. Listen to this. Boo-hoo if you don't like it. Your mom. Yeah, I got like a little sound box thing. So yeah, your mom if you don't like it. Yeah, I just don't want to be in a box. I like when I not to say learn the word nuance, but when I realized like that's how I want this to be, because majority of things and majority of discussions can be basically fixed or like mended when you realize that not everything is black and white. So like, for example, there's always an in-between when it comes to politics, when it comes to biblical things. I don't know. I don't want to say that because I also believe the Bible is the Bible. But again, a lot of people make things black and white, which my point being is when you have nuanced takes, which is basically what this whole podcast is going to be surrounded by, it just changes your perspective. Like, you don't have to think one way all the time. We'll talk more about that. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about like relationship stuff, faith, motherhood, cultural stuff, unpopular opinions. I talked about DDG and Hallie and that whole situation on TikTok, and it blew up, guys. If you're unfamiliar with that, those people, that's basically quick synopsis. Celebrity couple, exes now, they had a baby out of wedlock. Young black couple. DDG, he's like a content creator, influencer, and Hallie, she's the Little Mermaid. You know, the Black Little Mermaid. She does music. She's an artist. I talked about that on TikTok, and oh my gosh, the feedback was insane. Believe it or not, I lost, like, I wouldn't call them friends, maybe acquaintances, almost friends, over my opinion. And that just goes to show, like, clearly people can't handle difference in opinions anymore, which I see a lot. Like, if people don't like your views, a lot of people are like kind of forced to keep things to themselves because they don't want to lose like friends and family. Yeah, I'm over that. I'm not doing that anymore, and it's been very freeing, you know, because if you're gonna stop being my friend over my like takes and opinions, then we were never friends. But basically my views were, and believe it or not, this was controversial. My views were to wait to hear both sides of the story. Oh my gosh, how dare I say to wait to hear the man's side of the story. As a woman, they called me, what do they call me? A pick-me, which again, this generation has a way of taking words, not knowing their meaning, and overusing it. And so when I grew up, pick-me's were like women who would try to make you look bad in front of guys or like change how they acted for men. I'm a married woman. I do not need DDG to come here and propose to me because I had a take that I feel a lot of black men who are wrongfully convicted, or a woman says this or that, you know, we don't get to hear their side of the story, and all of a sudden like they're automatically just an abuser, cancel them, they're horrible. But yeah, I'm gonna put my TikTok somewhere on YouTube somewhere, but it's the same thing, Mourning Dove, if you want to check out my take. But long story short, that's just an example, like unpopular opinions of that I had, and a lot of people took it well. A lot of the women were not happy because I do realize that unfortunately they do be right. 100 women versus accountability. I'm be real with you guys. I do love women, especially black women, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we will be talking about that as well. What does it look like to show up when you're still healing but more grounded than ever? So that's, I feel like, basically where I am now. I think it looks like just showing up, just doing it, even when, like I said, like when you don't feel like it. Even days like I said this week, when I was questioning, like, am I ready to talk in public? Like, am I ready to share my story, my views? But the world needs to hear it. I think the world needs to hear what I have to say, and I think God wants my voice to be shared with the world. So what can you guys expect from this new season of the Mourning Dove Podcast? Let's see some topics I'll be covering. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about popular opinions, anything that comes up like celebrity wise that I think is kind of a hot topic that can be related back to, I guess, what would you say, culture, biblical aspects, conspiracy theories, of course, because a lot of conspiracy theories, as we said before, tie back into the existence of God. I'm going to be talking about personal stories, reflections, growth, healing, navigating nuance when things aren't just black and white, you know, the in-betweens. That means politics, guys, so be prepared for that. Yeah, because I don't subscribe to Democrat or Republican, guys. I actually I just believe in doing what is right, and I guess in God's eyes in a way, but also kind of just like using common sense, logic. I don't think it's good to be led with emotions, so I'm no longer doing that where society wants you to pick left or right and you have to. I think there is no left or right. There is no black and white. There's in between is where we find love, is where we find peace. But unfortunately, that's just not what Satan wants. And that's why everything in society is so black and white. Are you pro-life or pro-choice? Like, how about we be pro, what does God say? Or like, what relationship do I have with him? Where should I talk to him about this? Like, there's just more than just that or that. I know that was a horrible example, but just, I know you're following with me. That's where I am, and that's a lot what this podcast is going to be about. I'm not necessarily like giving answers. I'm more so giving space. I'm giving, leeway, my thoughts on things. I had someone tell me that I can't think of the word right now. I hope that next podcast episode, like, this flows more smoothly. I have to get back to used to being like in the hot seat and just talking, yapping. But they said I was like basically fair takes. So that's one thing that I hear a lot, and why I love to give people my advice or opinions, because like I said, I have a lot of experience with things prior to being, Mourning Dove now, very like married, mother, calm, chill. I used to be a firecracker, y'all. So I have a lot of experience being, I guess you could say, worldly, which is probably not the best thing, but it also helped me to be who I am today. I just have a good amount of experience with those different types of scenarios. So I give fair takes on things because I can see both sides. So just stay tuned for the topics, guys. The topics will be like whatever I feel like, honestly. We're going to be doing episodes once a week because that is all I can really commit myself to, if I'm being honest. I'm thinking about streaming. I don't know yet. Let me know what you guys think about that. Like if something's happening, if there's an event or something, just like streaming. Episodes will come out on Mondays because who doesn't like a fresh work week start of hearing your favorite podcast, the Mourning Dove Podcast. We're not here to perform anymore. We're here to become. That is going to be something I'm going to affirm you guys with. No longer performing, because guess what? Performance cannot buy you love. It's one of my favorite songs right now by DOE. She's a gospel singer. Basically, she says, like, you can try, but it never will be enough. Yeah, that's something that I'm growing into. Definitely, guys, please, if you can, if you're new, subscribe, share, message me on Instagram, look at those socials, and to end off, I'm going to say you're allowed to evolve, you're allowed to start again, and you're allowed to take up space even when your voice shakes. Oh, that rhymes. I love that. I am allowed to take up space even when my voice shakes. Period. And you know what? I needed that, and I hope that helps somebody out there too. But thank you guys for listening to it's not the first episode, technically this is episode 7, but thank you for listening to my rebranded episode of the Mourning Dove Podcast. I hope this was fun to listen to. I hope you guys are excited for what I have more to come. But yeah, thank you for listening, and have a great, beautiful, amazing rest of your day.